Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's always a pleasure having you guys here listening and following along with our strength journey. Today's episode is a member spotlight. This member is our longest current standing member and is also the winner of the most sessions attended, almost 400 sessions deep. That's so awesome. This member brings such a passion to the gym atmosphere, and we are so glad to have this member with us. This member has a 500 plus pound squat and a 500 plus pound deadlift, and his bench needs a little bit of work. But hey, we'll give him a break for right now. You also see this member as an MC at our powerlifting meets, and he's always there, just bringing the energy and making sure the meet runs super smooth. All right, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Launtz Miller. Strength Warehouse presents Go Heavy or Go Home podcast. I am your host, Nate Boley. In this podcast, we talk about strength, fitness, nutrition, and all things Strength Warehouse related. All right, Launtz, so welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming today. Can you just give the listeners a little bit of history on your fitness journey and where did you come from and where are you going?
Yeah, absolutely. So my fitness journey so far has been an interesting one. I was a high school athlete originally, right? So I played football.
You played football?
Yeah, okay. Down at San Clemente High School, Go Tritons.
That's San Diego area?
Yeah, okay. Southern California. So I had a foundation of working out, and during that time, I got a pretty bad injury in my C4, C5 of my neck, so I herniated a disc and had limited mobility and was actually in physical therapy for over 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How'd that injury happen?
It was essentially stingers that was hitting my right shoulder all the way down to my hand, and I just was... Every time I had any kind of impact, it would just shoot all the way down. I wasn't able to have that movement. And so at one point, because I was able to do 2 weeks of my freshman year of college, I could do 2 weeks of rugby. Okay. So my PT did not recommend it. It was like, hey, no more impact sports for you. You're done. And I was like, no, I'm going to be fine. And then in one of the practices one day, I speared somebody, just completely hit them the wrong way, and I lost mobility in the entire right arm all the way down.
And you're like, uh-oh, they were right.
Yeah, and it turned into one of those things where they were like, okay, now we are going to need to move into a discotomy and get surgery at the age of 19.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And so the reason I bring that up is because I was one of those situations that, like I was saying earlier, I went 100% to 0%. Yeah. Just because I had this injury, I didn't really know what to do with it.
Sure.
And so it's interesting because I stopped. I'm a full-time student. I'm working full-time too, right? Trying to make ends meet. And then it started to affect me mentally, where I'm just not sleeping well, having high anxiety.
Because you're not exercising?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't have a rhythm down. And so talking about my fitness journey, it took me about 2 or 3 years going through physical therapy and learning what I could do, what I couldn't do. Yeah. And then finally I get out of college, and I was working at the time actually at 24 Hour Fitness. Okay. Which was cool because my personal trainer and my physical therapist knew each other. They were able to give me some guidance on what was available. Okay. And so eventually I got better and I picked it back up.
Gotcha.
And I was able to get back into the routine of things. So I'm sure everyone heard on the shout out earlier, I have a little bit of a higher squat than my other lifts.
Well, I mean, that's pretty typical, but I mean, yeah, you've had a pretty poverty bench. Not to say anything terrible about you for a while, but just explain why that, what's going on there. It's not that you're just a terrible bencher. It's because of this injury that's really kind of limited what you can actually do.
Yeah, it's been wild. I remember when I got back into the swing of things, right, at the end of college, I was going down and I had a good deadlift, I had a good squat, then I would go to bench, and literally anytime I'm struggling, it's like my left hand would go up and my right just freezes out.
I've seen it.
And I still suffer with it today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Has it gotten better?
It has, slowly but surely. It's something that I need to keep working at, right? And I can't just avoid, but now it's when I get to that, as much pressure as I can put on my bench, that's when that injury is actually going to trigger a little bit.
Yep. And I remember several times in max effort day, that's been an issue.
Yeah.
We're just okay, cut it off.
But the thing is, I feel like I relate to a lot of people, though, where I had this like foundational setup where I'm working out at a younger age, and then I hit either an injury or life or anything where I just completely stop working out, and it just doesn't become part of my life. And that's one of the big things I appreciate being at Strength Warehouse was later on, right, my wife and I decided to move up here to Central Oregon.
Yeah.
And when we made that move, I was like, okay, I'm going to make fitness a part of what I do.
Yeah, it's not going to be a secondary thing. It's
going to be a primary thing.
It's going to be a primary piece in your life.
Yeah, and so I wanted to...
I remember you saying that. When you came in and you signed up. You're like, this is the deal. I'm going to make this. And you've done that. I think you have.
I appreciate it, man. It's one of those things where it's so weird how, like, it just becomes secondary in your routine, and you're just not thinking about it. But now that I look back, it's like, once again, I had more anxiety. I wasn't sleeping well. I just wasn't operating on the level that I wanted to be. And now, over the last few years, being here and being consistent, I've now turned back into my default is working out. 3 times a week and being involved in the community. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure, but I feel like I have some stability now, a little bit.
Good. Awesome, man. Well, you went to work for 24 Hour Fitness. What were you doing there?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story because when I had that injury and I was so involved with physical therapy, I ended up actually going into 24 Hour Fitness, talking to a personal trainer.
Okay.
Right?
You're going to go sign up.
Yeah, I was going to sign up.
As a member, okay.
Yeah, as a member. And I was talking to them about like everything that I had been through, kind of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Wow, that's a really interesting story. Have you ever thought about like being more involved?" And we have an open sales position, and it all of a sudden turned from me trying to be a member to me selling memberships.
They're trying to like recruit you to be a seller for them.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And was your job before this selling? Before 24 Hours?
That was my first sales position.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. That
insert now what Launtz is like. Salesperson.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like laying down the foundation.
Right, yeah.
But what I loved most about those, because I was like, 3-4 years when I was in college, and right when I got out, I was working there. And I got to relate to so many people that would come in about their fitness journey. It was always the same thing, right? Like, I've had lower back issues, I've had knee issues.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm able to talk to them about my journey and getting there. And it was kind of that empathy and relating thing that made me really good.
I find that same exact thing in ours when I do no sweat intros and somebody comes to me and say they have problems. I'm like, hey, look, I'm here trying to get you to change your life, and I'm in crutches, right? I literally just broke my foot a couple days ago, and I'm like, I'm actually 3 for 3 this week so far. It's only Tuesday.
Oh, so you're still getting your workout in, see?
Still getting my workout in. No, I meant like sales.
Oh.
I'm only 1 for 3 this week. 1 for 2 this week for lifting. But anyway, continue on. They hired you as a salesman.
Yeah, so they brought me in, and it was like relating to people on that journey. And it's crazy. You live this firsthand now, but how so many people, a fitness journey is unique to everybody that comes in. It's 100%. Always like there's different, but there's always those similarities too. Because we hit those mental blockers of like what is going to drive, what is my routine, and what is my limiter, like what is my injury or whatever.
What's your roadblock or whatever? Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. No, it's spot on exactly what you said, and that's kind of why we do like the way we do it now, right? We do the 90-day journey. We start you out with the no sweat intro, blah, 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 blah. You guys don't want to hear about this. Back to Launtz. All right, so you're doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
But you're doing personal training.
Yeah, so at that time, this is really funny because I was wondering how I could capture this story in a podcast, but I had the injury, right? I wasn't working out. I started working at 24 Hour Fitness, and everyone now listening is like, oh, so you're at a gym all the time.
Yeah.
I was not being good about my own workouts while I was at 24 Hour Fitness.
Yep.
Because I would clock in, I'd have an 8-hour or a 6-hour shift.
Yep.
And then I'd get done and I'd be like,
I'm out of here.
I want to go.
And that's so when I opened this gym, I had 2 buddies who already own gyms, and they said, Nate, you want to know the fastest way to get unhealthy and unfit? Own a gym. And that has been nothing but the truth. I literally sit in my office like 6 inches away from the gym.
Yeah.
And I struggle to get in there on a daily basis because of that same aspect, right? And so I had to hire a coach. I've had a coach now for almost 3.5 years, and he keeps me accountable.
So I love that you're doing that though, because it's not just talking the talk to be able to, but you're walking the walk.
Absolutely, as well. And I have to do it. If I didn't have Lee as my coach, or a coach period, I probably would get half the workouts in, and I'd be not nearly where I am right now. So I'm there.
It's wild though too, because I did the 24-hour thing. I'm not working on as good as I can, but then I transferred from 24 to a big corporate cubicle job.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And that's when it just went out the window, because I had kind of broken my habits. Yep. But at least I would work out a little bit because I'm there every once in a while. But then once I got to the situation it was just done. Yeah. And that was like the last couple years in San Diego until my wife and I moved up here. Yep. And I had it in my mind, I was like, okay, how do I hack my life? Like, how do I develop this routine and then make it a habit, like something that I just do regularly? Yep. And so when I came in, I signed up here, and I knew going in, I was like, there are preset times on the classes. Yep. And as silly as it is, monetarily, I'm investing, I'm paying to be here. Yeah. And I'm one of those people that's like, if I'm spending money, I'm going to take
100%. Yeah.
So
people who pay attention, and they do what's supposed to be done.
And the one big difference with like 24-hour fitness or these big gyms, which by the way, they work for a lot of people, and but the smaller community, if I don't show up, I know I'm going to get a text from you. It's like, get in here.
I know. I told somebody the other day, they're like, hey, my gym XYZ, when I don't show up, they just charge me $20. And I was like, that's great for the gym because they get an extra $20. So I was like, but do you really care about that extra $20? They're like, well, yeah, I was like, how about if I text you and said, hey, I'm really disappointed in you now. How come you didn't show up? Like, oh, that's so scary. Like, that's going to keep me going to the gym way more likely than just having a $20 fee going out the bank or whatever, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah. And having somebody that, like, just knowing that other people in the community, like, care about you, right? That helps a lot. I think we cultivated that community pretty well here.
I think that foundational aspect that I was talking about of being like on a high school team too. Yeah. It kind of lays in, like, you're used to like having that effort. Like, I don't want to let other people down.
Absolutely.
And I want to be here.
I'm on the team. I'm on the team, and if I don't pull my weight, they're pulling my weight for me, and then I'm not taking care of them.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So you come up here from San Diego. How did you find us?
That's a good question, man.
I don't think at that time we were running ads.
No.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. And I remember too, I don't know if I've talked about this to a lot of people, but I stalked this place. Okay. Like 2 or 3 times before my first class. Okay.
Because, like, you were already here in Bend?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'd been here for a couple weeks. Okay. I'm trying to find a home gym. Yeah. Right. I went to some of the bigger ones. And then I went through here, and I kind of saw it, and you had, and I don't know if you still use the term, but it was like team training. Yeah. And so I was in my head a little bit, because I was like, what is team? Right? And
what's
now
this team
I know,
thing about?
For those that are listening, team is community. Yes, I was thinking like national competitor level. And
did it scare you off a little bit?
It at first, it did. And I remember it was a few years, there were some big boys living here when I first came in.
There was.
And so I kind of was like looking, and then I noticed, I'm like, I think I'll be okay. But it was after that first, like, actually just pushing myself to walk through the door. Yeah. And like lifting with everyone, I was like, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So yeah.
We actually use the term group training now instead of team training, because it's still a group, and we're still like a team. We still cultivate it like a team, but having that team thing in there really pushes a lot of people away that we could help, because they're like, well, wait a second, I don't want to be like a part of this team thing, or I'm not good enough to be a part of the team or whatever. So we use a group.
Yeah, I think it's just people put a lot of pressure on that word. Yes, right, and that's not really the vibe.
Yeah, that's not the vibe. Yeah, exactly.
What's the saying that I was? It's like, it's called a PR, a personal record, for a reason, right? Because it's your own goal.
Yeah, it's not a team record. Right? Yeah, I mean, it can have a team record, but it's every time we do a personal record, it's just individualized, right?
Exactly.
All right, so fast forward, we've been here for a couple years. We start running our events, like, I think you came in at, like, when did you come here? When did you come to see us? 16? 17? No, not 17. 18. It was 18. Because we didn't open until 18.
Makes time all warped.
I know.
It feels like it's been 20 years now.
I know.
But,
so did you come?
It had to be 18.
It had to be 18. Okay, so we didn't do our first competition until 2020. mean, you helped us with our first competition in MC.
Was that the one at the Oxford Hotel?
Was at the Oxford, yep. USAPL meet. It was really small, but it was a lot of fun. And I was like, hey, I know who's... When you walked in, you started talking... I was already had it in my mind like this. If I ever run a competition, this is the guy that's going to do the MC.
Well,
yeah.
My phrase is, I feed off of attention, and I'm starving.
And you're starving, and you do a good job of it. I mean, everybody that you've had several people reach out to you and been like, "Hey, will you MC our events as well?"
I have, and I think I love being a part because this is my workout community of the Strength Warehouse events. But yeah, I did have an opportunity to go out to like Eugene.
Sure.
I've done one in Boise as well. But
that's right. Yeah.
That was the transition was becoming an MC for the USPA events is where it's like, okay, I hope to be involved in this for a longer period of time.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've done what? I mean, you've probably done like 8 events now.
Yeah, it's stacked up after a while.
Yeah, especially you do 3 a year.
The funny thing is the Oxford Hotel one, the very first one, which there was just so many logistics getting set up in that hotel, and I remember
that was the biggest pain in my ass.
But it was definitely like really cool that we had that people would be just walking like, what's going on in here?
Yeah.
Holy. But I would say I like it better at the gym just because it's logistically.
It's so much easier. You don't have to put any, like all the weights are here, all the racks are here. You don't have to move them. I know other meet, directors, they do all that stuff, and it's amazing. You have to have a team. And it's just so difficult to get all that squared away. But and then I think our last one, one of them you're like, hey, I want to lift. I don't want to MC. So that cultivated. That was the first. When was that? That was April last year. I think it was.
I think it was last year. Yeah, that I actually competed. So I competed in 2.
Yeah.
Which I also kind of felt like imposter syndrome.
3 total because you did our mock meet.
I did the mock meet as well. Yeah. And I'm glad I did it. I got to see it from the other side of things, and I probably in the future will continue to participate in them as well. But I gotta admit, there's something that I love about being on that end of the microphone.
Yeah.
Just because I think for a lot of people, these weightlifting competitions through the USPA, just saying it like that sounds so formal.
Sure.
And almost like my journey of just coming in here, people are like, oh, who's going to be, how much are they going to be deadlifting? 800 pounds? But it's not. We have big lifters.
Sure.
But there's people all over the spectrum.
100%. And age. I was just at a meet this last weekend, and there's an 82-year-old guy lifting. 82. And I was like, dude, I aspire that's so cool. I want to be 82 and on the platform.
That is by and far my favorite is when somebody who you would never expect is in that full setup, walks out to the bar and just like puts it on the line.
And he did a national record. I was like, dude, give me a break. Like, this is awesome. It was so cool.
There's been like powerful ones. Little PG-13, but I think it's a hilarious story. It wasn't a Strength Warehouse event, but there was an individual who had gone through treatment for testicular cancer.
Okay.
A little awkward.
Yeah.
But remember, you have a bio when you go to lift.
Mm-hmm.
And they had put on the bio like, hey, I'm in remission.
Yeah.
I just had this treatment.
Yeah.
My lifting nickname is now Ball of Fury. and it's so ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, I do remember. I think I remember that one. I think you told me that story at least.
And so I'm reading this like, oh, do I even read this in front of everyone? Like, and I did. But here's the twist: is like 7 people are like giving him like a standing ovation because this was a medical situation that this guy went through and is now back to lifting.
He's still doing it.
And it's just like one of those things like you never know somebody's personal fitness journey of like what they've gone through and how they got there.
Yeah.
And that's just freaking hilarious.
I thought it was hilarious. There's actually a bio this weekend that I got to read. The kid was a young kid. I think he was only 18. No, I think he was only 17.
Yeah.
He says, his bio says, I cook 1 minute rice in 59 seconds. And I was like, dude, that caught me off guard so hard. I was like, I have to say this on the mic. And I did. I was like, this is awesome. I love it. It was so good. I love the bios. Today or 2 days ago, I was helping one of our members sign up for a meet, the October meet, and Pacific Northwest Masters Cup. If you guys want to join, October 7th in Sisters, Oregon. Anyway, there's a little shameless plug there.
Nice.
Anyway, he was like, bio, what's this all about? And I was like, well, it's just something to, showcase who you are and give the MC a little bit more to, go off of when they're out there talking. And he's like, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I was like, oh, I encourage you to do something, but if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. I've done a couple bios before. I don't remember what they were now.
Yeah.
It's just something, interesting for the crowd and interesting for even the referees. Like I said, I was listening to, I looked at it and I was like, that's hilarious. I love it.
I love what you're getting at because, there's so many different lifters that come through, and it does, saying the name, the weight, what they're doing, but having a little, snippet or a little insight into the lifter, personalizes it as well. And it, out in the crowd, and there's a lot of people attending these weightlifting competitions that it gives the family a little something to cheer for too.
Absolutely.
So that person.
There was a kid in the crowd. He was a family of a lifter, and he had this little sign, and it was like this little girl, and she was 18 or above, so she was tiny, and his sign said, "Go XYZ person, you're small," which small was spelled SMOL, small. Okay. But feisty or something like that. And I thought, and every time she came up, he'd hold it up and stuff. I was like, okay, that's awesome. I really like that too. That's cool. But yeah, so you said you might do another meet?
Yeah, I think so. It was wild, going through that process. I remember the last meet that I did, I was actually half MC, half participating as well. Yeah. One of the wild things about doing an all-day competition that you don't think about is the DOMs. Afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, you feel like you get run over by a truck.
But it's always because it's delayed in the sense that the next day you're kind of feeling good, I got a good workout in, and then it usually if it's on a Saturday, and then Monday you can't get out of bed.
You're destroyed.
Yeah, destroyed. Just pushed everything you can. You're okay, there are ramifications.
Yes, there is ramifications of doing a powerlifting meet. One, you get sore as hell. Yeah. But there's also some good stuff out of it too, maybe records, maybe some medals, maybe some PRs.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's well worth it, and I definitely want to stay involved. I think that these events are something that ties me back into the community once again. Yeah. And so I'm probably going to be participating.
I think it's just I never push anybody to really do it, but it's if somebody comes to me with a super general fitness thing, I'm okay, that's so easy to be Friday afternoon or Monday or whatever, maybe you had too much fun on the weekend, whatever, to not go, right? Yeah. You got something that you're I've got an XYZ happening this time, you're going to make it happen. At least it's going to be a one extra step. And having a long-term general fitness goal is, like I said, so easy just to shy away from it because it's so far out there that your brain doesn't even really comprehend it. But if you're this is coming up in 2 months, I better get this stuff going.
Well, and then that's the two things that on a personal level for me I'm trying to establish, right? One is that habit forming, making my workouts part of my routine. So I do the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, shout out to the 5 o'clock class. Woo. And then after that, it's goal setting, right? You don't always need to be chasing a number per se, but for me, having, I'm going to be competing at this time, or I'm within 3 months at least want to hit this PR, that's that other motivator that kind of remains.
Speaking about goal sessions, you are on my paper to get a goal session review in. So what date would you like to have that happen?
Oh, see, you're laying down the pressure. I gotta lock it in right now.
Lock it in. This is the only way we get goal sessions out of these guys. But no, that's a really good analogy of what's going on there. But yeah, man. So just to wrap it up, if there's somebody out there that's listening to this or just scouting us out, driving by real quick and looking out their window, seeing crazy people lifting, and you're what would you tell them?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Nike.
Do it.
No, for real. Just take that effort to come in, challenge yourself, and before you know it, you'll be really, really surprised with the results that you have. Yeah. And it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm biased, but I do agree. All right, man. Well, I super appreciate you being on the podcast. Let's have you on again, maybe after your next competition, and just kind of see how all that went.
That sounds fun.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right, man. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, and we will see you on the other side. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey of strength. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review and share with a friend. To stay connected, hit that subscribe button. All right, until next time, go heavy or go home.